Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today we're gonna dive into a new session of our mega sampler review. So this is our 28 mega sampler, and today I am looking for a little bit lower caffeinated tea, or I really want to go to the no caffeinated tea. That's why I am choosing today the Noike Hojicha. So this is the tea I will review today. So you can see this is a Hojicha from the farmer Noike Yuma. He's actually a very small farmer in the region of Wazuka, close to Kyoto. So it's around 25 minutes with the car from Kyoto in the region of Wazuka. And this is quite a famous region also for several farmers. Some of them are there. Maybe you've even heard of Albubu Tea Farm. They're also there. So they do kind of internships for students. So if you ever want to learn something about Japanese green tea and you want to live in Japan, they actually offer internships there. So what you can do actually is to travel around a little bit their birthplace of the Japanese green tea, and this is Uji, Kyoto, and also Wazuka. Wazuka is next to Uji, so it's very close to the birthplace, and there we find Mr. Noike Yuma, and he is actually a young farmer. Quite an interesting backstory. So he was a student, and sometimes he helped during the summertime to the farmers or with the farmers to just harvest the tea leaves, and he did this for several summers. And then one day he became aware that one farmer he wanted to stop, and he took actually over his hectare. So he's a very small farmer, so he only has 1 hectare of a tea field, which is kind of a soccer field, or maybe a little bit a smaller American football field. So it's quite small, but it's a wonderful place when you're visiting him. So it's actually in a dense forest. So his tea fields are actually surrounded by a dense forest. An organic tea field, this is perfect for him because sometimes organic fields there's next to chemical fields. So he's absolutely not confronted with this situation, and he then plants his organic tea. And what he especially, we ask him what he especially likes about the green tea farming, and he says really it's the production of the tea itself. This is where I put my super focus. It's not the planting, the raising, because he said, you know what, the reason also why I plant actually organic, I don't have to curate the plants that much. I don't have to spray anything, don't do anything. So I can just leave the plants alone and I just let them grow, and then I can harvest them. And actually it's the harvesting time, or the moment when I can really produce the tea. This is actually my moment of fascination. This is where I kind of find the satisfaction of being a farmer. Being at one of the best universities, he was studying actually a technical degree there, and then he decided, okay, I will not do that anymore. I want to become a tea farmer, and now he's a tea farmer, and he's not only a tea farmer, he's an excellent tea farmer with a small field. He's still looking a little bit at enlarging his fields and having more different teas to offer. And for today, I brought along the Hojicha. So this is a small story of Mr. Noike Yuma. And now we're gonna dive directly into Hojicha. So, Hojicha. This is a tea that is not that old. So when you look at the history of Japanese green tea, this was mainly between in the early 20th century that this tea became more famous, and this tea was actually a tea that was more and more produced in the region of Kyoto, so also close to Wazuka. So what you can see is this tea is brown. So normal Japanese green tea is green. So why is this brown? When we look at Hojicha, we talk about, or when we talk about it, it's a roasted green tea. So the green tea leaves actually, they were also green, they're also steamed, but they get over several steps, they become roasted. We did, for example, the visit of the farm of Mr. Isin, who is in Tokachio, and he actually, or I could walk through the different steps in his fabric, where he produces the tea. And what is fascinating is, compared to the normal green tea, the teas are always a little bit more roasted. So normally you have different steps where you first have the green tea leaves, then they are put in a steam bath and then slowly dried. in that green tea production with Hojicha is actually that over the different steps they're always a little bit more roasted, and in the end they are around roasted at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 140 degrees Celsius there, and it is around 1 hour that they are roasted, and this is a completely roasted. If it's a slightly roasted tea, we talk about Kamairicha. So this is another form of green tea, which I will certainly also talk about in the green tea sample, but today is the Hojicha, so the fully roasted tea. What is nice about the Hojicha is that it actually, through the process of roasting the tea, you get down the caffeine to nearly zero. So it's actually nearly, you could say, decaffeinated tea. It's not entirely correct, so there's still a little bit of caffeine, but it's so small the amount that even children could drink this tea. So we talk about the roasted tea, and this here is a special one. So you see that the leaves, actually there are not a lot of stems in the tea. There are some stems like this one here. There are a little bit of stems, but this here is a leaf Hojicha. Sometimes you even find a stem Hojicha, but with this one here we talk about a leaf Hojicha. And what is important about the leaf Hojicha, or this one of Mr. Noike, of the 3 Hojichas we have, this one is the sweetest one. It's a little bit golden, it's more in the caramel, it's more in the sweet section. Sometimes you get a little bit of a stronger kind of burnt or a stronger roasted. It nearly gets very earthy, nearly a little bit black, like a little bit of slight taste of carbon. So it's a little bit going in this direction, but here with the tea of Noike Yuma, he pays a lot of attention, or seems to pay a lot of attention really to the sweetness of the tea, that he doesn't roast it too strong and it gets a light sweet caramel note with it. What else can I say? So Hojicha often is done also with the second or the third harvest. So it's leaves which are coming from the second or third harvest, which might, when you drink them as a green tea, can be a little bit bitter, but thanks to the roasting, all of this is taken out. So the roasted green tea of Noike Yuma is actually, there's no bitterness to it. And it is said that this tea also, the good thing about it is that you have a beautiful tea which has no caffeine, or is very low in caffeine, but carries the properties of the green tea. So carries the catechins for the antioxidants, carries also the theanine for the de-stress, for the calming effect on the brain. So it contains everything and is lowered in caffeine, but it's just a different taste. So let's go into the taste of this tea. Good. I preheated my water quite high this time, so with the Hojicha you can give it a little bit of a temperature. Here I went up to 75 degrees Celsius, which is 176 Fahrenheit, or close to 176, it was around 170 Fahrenheit. So this is the temperature now I use to this tea. For this tea, I think you can go up to 80 degrees Celsius, so 176 Fahrenheit, but now I just chose this temperature. You will learn over time that with green tea you can choose a little bit your temperature. Sometimes you have, if you want to have a strong taste, but you want to have a little bit, or you might experience a little bit of a freshness, citrusy taste with the green teas, you can go up to higher temperatures like 176. If you want to have a smooth, sweet, and push the sweetness, you can go to around 140 degrees Fahrenheit with the green teas. With the Hojicha, or with the Hojicha, it also differs a little bit. It will bring out a little bit of a stronger taste, maybe a little bit less sweet, because you trigger really the theanine with the lower temperature, especially when you do it in a cold brew. So you can do cold brew. This Hojicha is not too good for a cold brew because it's a very fine and kind of nearly delicate tea, you might say, so it's better to hot brew it. But you can absolutely do a cold brew, but there, for example, we have the Kawabata-en, or we have the Kuki Hojicha, so one which is made out of stem teas from Mr. Issin, which is better than for a cold brew. Good. So now we are through with our minutes. I hope I didn't talk too much. And you see the color of the tea. A little bit close. Next time a little bit less water. Good. So when we have a look at the color of the Hojicha, you really see that it's kind of this beautiful golden, kind of brownish, golden, kind of caramel, very beautiful kind of mix of brown, gold, and much more dark due to the fact the tea leaves, they are absolutely, they are roasted, so you can see they keep dark, they keep it the same color. Meanwhile, green tea gets a little bit brighter, often when it is shaded. This one stays quite the same in terms of leaves. And now let's see what the taste is like. So what you always get as a first note is kind of this roasted flavor profile. This is throughout all the Hojichas I tasted until now, it's like the very first, like when your tongue gets in touch with the tea water, you always get this roasted flavor. If you don't like this roasted flavor, then Hojicha will not be your taste. Some people also told us like, yeah, this is just using crappy green tea, then you roast it and you sell it and it's cheap and everything. But it's not the case. It's just that it is a roasted green tea and it's a complete different tea from the tea you know when you drink a green tea. There's just this typical roasted flavor. And then we come to the changes in the Hojicha, so the differences between the different Hojichas. This one here, super interesting. When you have a sip, so you get this roasted flavor. And already in my palate, I feel a lot of caramel. I feel a lot of sweetness. So I have first this roasted flavor, and then the room goes out, or it opens up, and then you can go in different direction. If you have a stronger roasted tea, you can in between kind of coffee notes, a little bit of caramel, but mainly this roasted flavor profile stays strong, especially with the cookie Hojicha of Mr. Isin. There you have strong, predominantly this dark color, so you have a lot of this dark coffee notes and roasted notes. They stay, or this tea stays more in this area. Meanwhile, Kawabata, he's able to have a little bit of both worlds. He's more roasted, but also slight caramel notes. And then if you go with the Hojicha of Mr. Noike, so he's actually able to really drive his tea into the sweeter and caramel section. So you have this roasted flavor, which is kind of the starting point. And then it goes over into this more sweeter caramel notes. And that's what I get a lot of it. Also, when I have the tea already in my mouth for the first time, then I really go so kind of have a feeling that there's a kind of nearly a sugary note, a little bit slight sweet note, and then it drifts off into more this caramel and sweeter notes. It even has a little bit of a small, slight flowery note. So it's very delicate, sweet, and that's why it might not push through it when you cold brew this tea. Maybe try it for yourself once if you want to do it. You should not forget, when I talk about a little bit caramel and sweeter notes, it is a roasted tea. So you have this roasted flavor. It always stays a little bit with it, but the tea starts to show sweeter notes, a little bit more flowery notes, kind of fine, soft notes, delicate notes to it, additionally to this roasted flavor profile. So the roasted flavor profile is always there, so it's not like roasted and then going over into different flavor notes, but this roasted flavor notes is always swinging with it, and then kind of the sweeter notes are kind of dancing around these taste notes. So very interesting. This tea is definitely more on the sweeter side of the Hojicha. So kind of you get the roasted notes, but there's always this nice sweetness swinging with the tea. So the first brewing, definitely good in terms of beautiful roasted flavor, and then these sweet notes dancing with it. So I want to finish this one and go to the second one. So I will use a little bit less water this time. just to make it a little bit stronger. That's also something you can do when you do your green tea. It's just not add too much water. Or you can buy a smaller size cube. So this one is a little bit bigger, but it's around 250 milliliters, which is, if I am not right, 5, 7, I think 9 ounces, 9 ounces, 9 to 10 ounces. This one here. So this is around the size, which is kind of a normal size or standard size. Often you can also go to smaller ones, or you can have a little bit bigger ones like this one here. So this one is, I would say, about 13 to 14 ounces. It's a little bit bigger. You can see it slightly bigger. I know I put it more in the back so you see it. So you see it's a little bit bigger, but the size difference is not enormous. Good. So let's try number 2. You can absolutely brew Hojicha also 3 to 4 times. I will do 2 times here. Now here the second brewing of this tea. And what is also interesting always when you drink Hojicha, the first brewing will show a strong kind of note of this roasted flavor. This is the first brewing, definitely. It's a little bit like Gyokuro. When you Gyokuro, you know the kind of the Empress tea, long shaded, you really have this strong umami, kind of this savory flavor profile in the first brewing, which goes a little bit away in the second or third and reduces itself. Here, what you have in the first brewing is really that you have this roasted flavor profile, and then it goes over into a more giving kind of the second tier notes, let's say it like this. So like the notes in the first brewing, which are not that strong, gives more space to them. And that's where this tea also becomes more sweeter even. So we have here a much sweeter, and it shows much more of these caramel notes, this a little bit sugary notes. This one here in the second brewing definitely drifts more into the softer and sweeter and more delicate notes, while the roasted flavor is still there, but at a much lower level. It's a little bit like also this golden toast flavor. If you have a toast and you just make it just golden, not black or anything or dark, just a little bit golden. This is something like this sugary sweetness, golden toast roast flavor, which I get with this one here. So it's super interesting. Hojicha can take on different forms. This one here definitely more in this sweeter caramel notes. Meanwhile, you can get ones that are much more in the coffee section, so coffee notes, roasted, strong, dark roasted notes. So super interesting also between the different roasted teas that you can have different taste experience. But this was the Noike Hojicha, or the Hojicha from Mr. Noike. I hope you liked this one too. And don't forget, leave a comment if you have a question, if you want to know anything. I'm happy to answer all your questions, and I guess I see you next time. Thank you, see you, and bye-bye.